Hello, welcome to the new video The Love of Milim and Rimuru by BenGrem1234. Chapter 22. Milim vs Luminous. Back in Lubellas, everything was peaceful and people were minding their own business. Everyone was as happy as always. The knights were moving about and ensuring that the people were safe, and the people were all happy and grateful for the work of the knights in their nation. That's right, Lubellas was a peaceful nation and everyone was happy, until a great calamity approached the city with great speed. The calamity landed with a great thud which shook all the people in the capital city of Lubellas. People began to scream, and before long, chaos descended on the capital. Everyone ran for their lives and the knights were doing all they could to calm the people. The reason this is happening is because half of the city was in ruin because of the shockwaves that happened after the calamity landed. Buildings were destroyed and many were injured, all because of a single landing of one person. And the aura this person is emitting is doing nothing to calm the people's anxiety of the situation. The person who landed looked at all the frightened people with disinterest. She concentrated her senses around the whole city until she found who she was looking for. "So that's where you are. You can't hide from me," the person said to herself. The person took off to the direction of the inner cloister. With her speed, she was able to reach the cloister in no time at all. She landed in front of the sacred mountain that was at the center of Lubellas, but she wasn't alone. She saw multiple men dressed in white armor, and all of them were heavily armed and were looking at her with unshakable resolve. "We will not let you pass," one of the soldiers shouted. "We are the paladins, defender of mankind. Surrender yourself now or face the consequence," another shouted. The person looked at them like they were mainly an annoyance. She gave them a cocky smile. "Nice to meet all of you. I am known as Demon Lord Milim, the Destroyer. I've come here to see your leader. Bring her out or I will destroy this pitiful nation." All the soldiers paled when they heard the name Milim. They all know the story of the walking calamity that call herself Milim. They all understood that the situation was dire. Yet, their resolve was unwavering and unshaken. "We will not listen to your request, demon. You may be a demon lord, but not even you will stand a chance against all of us combined," one brave knight shouted. The other knights readied themselves for the fight of a lifetime. Little did they know that they will regret that decision very soon. Milim looked at all of them in anger. "Then prepare yourselves for death," and with that, the slaughter began. Lewis heard the commotion that was happening outside. He rushed outside to know what is happening, but the scene he saw shook him. He saw a single girl with pink hair standing in a pile of dead bodies. The whole area was littered with dead bodies of the paladins that numbered about 1,000. The girl turned her attention to him and gave him a cold look. Lewis was very frightened because of who it is that was attacking them. He could not move from his spot under her gaze. Finally, the girl spoke. "I will ask this only once. Bring out Luminous now or I will destroy this worthless nation." Lewis found his voice. "Why do you want to see her?" "That is none of your concern. Will you call her, yes or no?" Milim asked him with disinterest. Lewis did not know what to do. He obviously can't call his master here, not knowing the intention of Demon Lord Milim. On the other hand, he can't face Milim in combat. If he tried, he would be killed in an instant. He was lost on what to do, but luck was still on his side. Demon Lord Luminous Valentine came out to see what was going on. Luminous heard some commotion outside her temple. She came out to see what was happening and froze from what she saw. Milim was standing in the middle of dead corpse of her people. She calmly looked at Milim, who was still talking to Lewis, to understand her intention. Milim looked behind Lewis and saw Luminous standing there. "So there you are, Luminous. I have some business with you." "I can see that, Milim. What business do you have with me exactly? As far as I'm concerned, I haven't done anything to you that deserves you killing my people in cold blood," Luminous said to her with a calm look. Milim's face changed to anger after hearing that. "Don't play dumb with me, Luminous. You know of my relationship with Rimuru and you know how I would react when someone threatens him." Luminous was very confused now. "What are you talking about? I have done nothing to threaten Rimuru." "Oh. Then explain your soldiers that I saw, matching to Rimuru's city. By their number you can tell that they were going to war. You are their leader, which means you were the one who ordered them to attack Rimuru." Milim shouted at her with anger. Luminous didn't know what Milim was talking about. Why would she send her men to fight Rimuru when she knew what he can do? She is not that stupid, but Milim will not believe her. She calmly looked at Milim. "Look, Milim. I did not give them any such orders. They are doing this on their own. But still, why are you worried about Rimuru when you know what he can do and how powerful he is? This is not about my darling's strength. I know he can protect himself from those weaklings, but I'm still mad that you had the gut to pick a fight with someone who is very dear to me. I'm going to make sure that you never think of making such stupid mistake again after I'm through with you, Milim said to her in anger. Luminous knew that nothing she would say will ever convince Milim that she was innocent. She brought out her sword, Night Rose, a mystic grade weapon, and took a fighting stance. Lewis, do not interfere or you will die. Keep any other person that wants to interfere away from the fight. Understood, my lady, Lewis replied as he went to a safe distance from the fight. Luminous waited for Milim to make her move. I never imagined that I would have to face Milim in a fight. This is getting ridiculous. How am I supposed to beat her? I know my limit and I know that she is way above me in power. This will be tricky. Milim rushed at Luminous with a punch. Luminous jumped back and evaded her despite the speed Milim was moving. This is thanks to Luminous having thought acceleration, which allows her to perceive things at a speed far beyond the speed of light. Luminous landed and rushed Milim with her sword raised. She reached Milim, who was on the ground, and swinged her sword at her, aiming for her midsection. She put a lot of power in her swing, and had it been anyone else, she would have cut the person in two, but Milim took the attack head on without a scratch. Luminous' sword swing was stopped the moment it made contact with Milim's body, and this greatly shocked her. She was so distracted from this phenomenon that she did not see that Milim was attacking her. Milim sent out a punch directly at the face of Luminous, which caught her off guard and sent her flying back to the temple. Luminous crashed into the walls of the temple with a heavy boom. Lewis, who was standing by and saw her master crashing into the walls of the temple, became very worried. He tried to rush to her aid, but Milim was faster than he could ever imagine. Before he took a step, Milim appeared in front of him with her fist cocked back, ready to punch him. Milim was standing to see if Luminous will get up from her punch. While she waited, she saw the savant of Luminous trying to go to her aid, and this annoyed her. Might as well take out that weakling before he gets in the way of my fight with Luminous, Milim thought to herself. She rushed to Lewis with her speed and punched him, which caused a massive boom with a huge smoke. When the smoke cleared, Lewis was seen, seating on the ground with wide eyes, looking at the scene in front of him. He was shocked because Luminous was in front of him, with her face covered in blood and using her sword to block the punch of Milim that would have killed him. Luminous could not believe she survived taking a direct punch to the face from Milim. If she didn't have the unique skill Lust, she would have been dead. She was lucky because with all her strength, she was able to block the punch of Milim that would have killed her savant Lewis. She turned to Lewis and shouted at him. Why are you still sitting there, you fool? Hurry up and get away, quickly. Lewis immediately stood up and ran down the sacred mountain. Luminous started to feel a huge force behind the sword that was still blocking Milim's punch. She tried her best to stand her ground, but she started to see small cracks in her sword. Milim Nava is ever the monster I know she is. She has not even gotten serious and she is already this strong. If we continue to clash here, she may destroy this city. I need to get her away from here, Luminous thought to herself. The moment she saw that Milim was going to overpower her, Luminous jumped back and took off in the direction away from the city. Milim saw her flying away and took off after her. Both of them flew to an empty field with grasses all over the place before Luminous landed in the field, followed by Milim, who was right behind her. Both stood opposite from each other and looked at each other. Finally Luminous spoke. Milim, I don't know why you are accusing me of things that I don't know about, but if you still want to fight me, I promise you I won't hold back anymore. Pretend all you want, but you will eat your words after I'm done with you today. Anyone who dares to plan harm to my beloved will have no mercy from me, Milim said to her with anger. If that is your answer, then so be it. Just remember that you have no one to blame but yourself when you lose, Luminous said before she began to release all her magicules. Her powers were massive and it coated her body like a kind of armor. Luminous' sword changed with the added power and became more durable and sharp. Luminous then raised her right hand in the air and a massive magic circle appeared above Milim. She brought her left hand and pointed it to the ground, and another massive magic circle appeared under Milim. She clapped both of her hands together and multiple magic circles surrounded Milim and trapped her in the middle of the magic circles. Luminous raised both her hand in the air and a huge amount of magicules began to generate from her. She looked at Milim and smirked. Behold my power, Milim. This is a trump card I've been saving for my rematch with Dragul and Veldora. This is my holy and demonic magic mixed together. I call it Demon Lightsaber. I created this spell with the intention of killing true dragons, if I ever faced one again. Never did I thought that I would be using it on you though. Now I will give you one last chance to back down or I will kill you. Milim, who stood silently, smiled. Oh, you sure are confident in that power of yours. Let's put that power of yours to the test, shall we? Luminous became angry after hearing Milim's response. I'm serious, you know, if I release this spell, you will die. Leave and I will stop. I will be the judge of that. Hit me with your best shot if you dare, Milim taunted Luminous. Luminous sighed and brought down her hand. Erase her demon lightsaber. The multiple magic circle which surrounds Milim began to glow. Then a very bright red and black light filled the whole area and consumed Milim. The light was so bright that those inside the city thought that a second sun has appeared. Many people from all across the region were able to see the light that kept on shining. Finally, after some minute, the light died down and dust smoke covered the area. The attack that Luminous used has the same property of death, blessing and disintegration mixed together. This attack will kill anyone it touches regardless of the type of barrier the person used. This is because the attack is designed to erase both the physical and spiritual body of anyone it touches. It was no wonder that Luminous was confident in the attack being able to kill a higher being. Luminous turned her back and was prepared to leave when she heard sounds coming from the smoke. She turned around and looked closely in the smoke to see if it was her mind playing tricks on her. Then, all of a sudden, a huge gust of wind blew out all the smoke to reveal Milim standing there in her full world-class armor and with her world-class sword Tenma. She had a black and purple aura that covered her entire body and she stood proudly and confidently looking at Luminous. That was one killer attack. I can see why you were confident about it. If this attack had been used on anyone besides me, I'm certain it would have killed that person. I think that only my darling Rimuru can withstand that attack. Too bad for you, but it didn't work on me, Milim plainly told her. Luminous had her eyes wide open. This was her trump card, her best attack, and she took it like it was nothing. How? What kind of power does she has to be able to counter a power that disintegrate all manner of phenomena that exist? This is way beyond being a catastrophe level. This is on a level of the gods. Are you saying that Milim Nava has surpassed the level of catastrophe? How did you survive that attack? That attack was designed to disintegrate all phenomena in existence. It's not an attack that can be blocked by any known equipment or power. So how did you do it? Luminous shouted at her. Milim looked at her and smirked. I don't like revealing my powers to others, but I guess I can make an exception. Have you heard of ultimate skill before? Luminous was surprised by the question. Of course I have. It is the evolved form of unique skill and the final evolutionary stage of skills in general. They are known only in legends because they are so hard to obtain. Are you saying you possess an ultimate skill? That's right. People who are very lucky were able to awaken an ultimate skill after certain conditions were met. A person can only have one ultimate skill, but that isn't the case for me, Milim explained to her. Luminous was starting to understand what she was saying to her. Are you suggesting that you have more than one ultimate skill? Exactly. I won't tell you what my first ultimate skill can do because that one is a secret that not even my darling Rimuru knows about. But I will tell you about my second ultimate skill. I possess the ultimate skill Armageddon Destruction. This skill has the power to destroy and erase all things in existence. It doesn't matter what shape, form or type the thing is. I can erase it so long as the phenomena exist. With this skill, erasing your spell was nothing more than child's play for me, Milim told her with her smirk increased. Luminous didn't want to believe what she heard, but the evidence is standing right in front of her. She couldn't help but laugh bitterly because of how helpless she felt at the face of the overwhelming power before her. How can she beat Milim when she can erase anything and any attack she has? This is just so unfair, and to make matters worse, she is almost out of magicule because of that last attack. In fact, it is taking all her strength just to keep on standing. I must praise you though. You were powerful enough to force me to rely on my ultimate skill to survive. Had I not possessed that skill, I would have perished from that last attack. Now it is over. Try and survive this if you can, Milim told her before she took her stance. She dropped her sword and it disappeared before she looked at Luminous and got ready to attack. Luminous saw that she was going to attack and got ready to defend herself. She had her full focus at Milim, watching her to see what she would do, but right before her eyes, Milim disappeared and appeared in front of her and gave her an uppercut that sent her flying. Luminous was sent flying in the air with her broken jaw and in serious pain. She was confused on what happened, but before she could think more on it, Milim appeared again above her and kicked her in her spine, which sent her flying again in the air. Luminous was in a lot of pain despite having pain nullification skill. She couldn't think because Milim was not given her a chance to. Milim appeared again to where she was still flying and punched her in the stomach, which sent her flying, and she repeated the process. Milim kept on punching and kicking Luminous all over the place in the air until finally, she gave her a drop kick in the head, which sent her crashing to the ground with a huge boom that created a huge dust smoke. Milim flew down into the smoke and released a little bit of her aura, which cleared out the smoke in the area to reveal Luminous lying on the ground with multiple cracks in it and her body, covered in a lot of blood. She looks like a dead corpse, but she was able to survive that punishment thanks to her infinite regeneration skill. Milim looked at her and gave her a cold look. Any last words before I finish you off? Luminous weakly looked at Milim and glared. I didn't do anything to you, yet you falsely accused me of doing things I know nothing about. I told you that I didn't send anyone to attack Rimuru. Someone else is behind this. Don't try to act all innocent on me. Your knights were matching to my beloved Rimuru's nation to attack him. I know that Rimuru and his subordinates will handle them, but what kind of future wife will I be if I don't try to protect my future husband nation from anyone who wishes to harm it? Milim shouted at her. Luminous was confused by what Milim said. Future husband? What do you mean? Oh, didn't I tell you? Milim showed Luminous her ring finger. Rimuru proposed to me and we are going to get married soon. I promised myself that I will do anything to protect Rimuru from danger because he means more to me than life itself. So I will not stand by and watch you plotting his downfall while I can do something about it. I understand how you feel. Believe me, I do, but you got it wrong. Please, give me a chance to prove that this accusation is all a mistake, Luminous pleaded with her. How do you plan to do that? Milim asked her. By going to Tempest and seeing the paladins myself. I will prove my innocence that way, Luminous told her. Milim thought about her offer before she nodded. Fine, but I will be taking you there myself, to make sure that you don't escape. Just know that I'm actually considering this because Rimuru wouldn't want me to kill you, but if I find out that you are tricking me, I will not hesitate to end you. Remember that. Luminous had no choice but accept. Milim went and picked her up and placed her in her back before she took off to the direction of Tempest. Luminous has her suspicion that the 7 days were behind this mess. She vowed to kill them all if that was the case as a retribution for this humiliating beat down she received by the hands of Milim.